Hey guys, how's it going? I'm back here with another video here. And this video here is really going to be focused around the King's Indian defense and the King's Indian uh, attack from maybe the black side, so to speak. What inspired me to do this video, I got in a very uncomfortable position with the King's Indian against the King Indian as white, and I want to show you the game. And what I intend to do this video is just really to go over a couple of lines and to show you some very, very interesting and exciting lines to play as white, and a couple of interesting lines to play as black if you are a King's Indian player. So I think this is a good thing to try to learn an opening from both sides. So anyway, I'm not going to go too deep, but I just wanted to show you the excitement, and I will post links to the games in the description for your reference, and maybe you might get something out of this. Anyway, I was white here in this position, and my opponent was played the King's Indian defense here, and I we basically transitioned into this is not a normal move order that you'd get this type of position right here. And normally you start with 1d4, 2c4 as white, and something like 3 knight c3, something like that. But here, what I want to point out on 6 bishop d3, it is recommended to go bishop b2 here in this position, because eventually this bishop here can have some effect on the square here at some point, and also this square here as well. So when you go bishop d3, what happens is that not only do you give at some point black, his knight can move here, or his bishop can move this square, or his knight might can swizzle over to h5. Essentially, you're just what they like to say biting on granite here if you were to open up this diagonal here, because those pawns can really got each other backed up there. So I'd recommend, if you're going to play this opening as white, play bishop e2. It just tends to, just generally speaking, got more meaning to it. All right. But as it stands, I went d3. He goes knight d c6. I go a3, which is now we're getting into like some early deviations of here of this King's Indian, and it's really not typical here. And in all honesty, I know how to play this line okay, but this game again inspired me to learn more about this opening from both sides. So again, I'm going to try to quickly go through this. Okay, he goes e5. In response to e5, you always want to go d5. However, you still give black his principal break right here with f4. Sorry, with f4 right here on this square. However, when you play this opening, what the thing you have to remember is that you are doing okay as white. It just might not seem like it, but at the same time, you have to know and be comfortable that black is going to get some sort of attacking maneuvering going on the king side, but you're really going to be playing to break through on the queen side with something like b4, c5, bishop b2, something to that effect. All right. So I castles. He goes knight d7, bishop b4. He goes f5. Now he comes with the break, and in this case, I should have went, for example, I'll show you what I did. I went queen c2, which is really not that good of a move. It's okay, it's playable, but it's not great at all. But what I really should have done here was went f5. C5 takes bishop c2. Then take, just sacrifice the pawn, and with the compensation for the fact that you have this line here open, this pawn here is going to constantly have to be under watch. If he takes, for example, here, I mean, that's fine for me. And if he, for example, was to push forward, that would also be, it's what you expect in this type of position. But again, White's aim here is to attack Black's king from the queen side while you maintain adequate defense against your king, because he's going to be on attack at some point, if you allow that. F4, knight e2. Now, what I'm preparing for here is, again, I played this differently than I've played any King's Indian in the past, and against any King Indian in the past, because my idea, I said, okay, I know he's going to attack me on the king side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get an economy defense with one knight, something like king on h1, knight on g1, get the h file open, rook on g1, which is what I did. But it turned out not to be so great. But at the same time, like, I felt comfortable in the position, although I did say I felt uncomfortable. I mean, I was uncomfortable really not knowing what I was doing until I felt sort of a rhythm with my pieces. And actually, Black had me busted at one point. But again, when you're playing against a human being, they have to find those moves and not get themselves in time trouble, as my opponent did. So he goes bishop f6. I think it's a decent move. Preparing g5. I go king h1, g5. I go knight g1. So I've got him step one of my process here. He goes g4. I knew this was going to happen. So I go h3. Trying to get my plan into motion here, breaking open the g file. He goes h5. That's a good move. Oh, one other thing to remember in a position like this, when you have these center pawns kind of locked up like this, again, two things to remember. You're going to expect to play on the queen side actively, play defense on the king side. Your opponent's king side is, he can push his pawn there, because generally speaking, as a rule of thumb, when the center is locked up, it's safe to push your pawns in front of your king. Generally speaking, don't think that's always the case, but generally speaking. Bishop b2, he goes bishop g5. I had to go back. Bishop c1, that was the only adequate defense, because, for example, I went bishop c1. Let's just say if I would have, I don't know, I'm just make a random move just for the sake of it. I would have done something like this. He goes something like this. And then, say I move, he brings his bishop here. He just, just preparing something like queen here. I mean, there's a lot of things can happen here. Knight here, for example. I mean, so you're going to want to allow such a thing. Okay, I go bishop c1 to kind of stop that from happening. Knight g6. He's making room for his pieces, which is good. I got to admit, my opponent played this opening better than I did. I go f3. I'm trying to achieve my break here. He goes knight f6 first, with the idea of bringing his knight to h5 and then to g3 with check. g3, trying to break this thing open. He takes, I take, and he takes with the pawn. I probably would not have taken this with the pawn, because he opened up this diagonal here. And I really could have used this diagonal to great effect, like right here. But, he ended up taking it with a pawn. I think I'd have took it the other way around. If anything, I would have wanted to trade pieces to get that bishop off that line. Okay. Knight d4, which is fine. I was intending knight e6 at some point. That never happened, but you'll see how it went down here. h4, very good move, I think. Knight to knight ge2. Knight h5, he's coming in with check. So I've kind of accomplished my goal here, sort of. I got the file open. But he has active play. I got the file open. I got economy defense. It's really hard to get through his own pawns and pieces to really get at my king. And so, although again, the computer might say it's bad for white. I mean, again, playing against a human is really tough to make good decisions in a position like this. He goes check. Don't take. knight h5. Now here, actually, I've got to watch out. If I move this knight, he's threatening checkmate here. And so I really got to watch out for that. So I went rook to d1. I wanted to bring my knight back on e2 back to g1. Very good move, I think, by him vacating that square to bring his queen to g5, which he did on the very next move. f2. Now this is what he really had me busted at. He had a really good sacrifice here, and I saw the sacrifice. I didn't see the follow-up until I analyzed when I got home, but I said to myself, man, if he does this sacrifice, it's just going to be annoying to deal with. I'm going to probably have to give him the piece back and end up being like a pawn or two down in the end. And I'll show you that sacrifice. So the sacrifice was to take this bishop first, then go here, take this, queen takes, queen g3 check, and then after these trades, I thought this here was good. It's not bad, but this here was the better move to take this way. So when I go, let's just say variation. Then he comes down here, and then hold up, and I go back. He comes here. He has a very powerful, potent attack on me. Not only with that said, he has this line here. He's just winning in this position here. It's not else to be said. You can analyze it. Be it as it may, he ended up sacrificing. He was under time pressure. He ended up sacrificing this knight. And I think what he thought was that I was going to take this way. That's what I think he thought. Because he was under time pressure. I think he had like maybe a minute left or something like that. And I still had like 30 minutes. But I took this way. He still came in. I took. He takes. And I back up. And there was several moves. There's many ways that he can even play this, but he's losing at this point here. So bishop g5, I go knight e2. He takes, knight takes this because the pin is on his pawn with this bishop. He takes, I take bishop, and king f7. So I go rook c1. The rest is just really just a matter of he's going to lose another piece here in a moment, and he's really short on time. I could have played even this a lot better myself, but I think sometimes when you get in a position like this, you tend to be overly cautious because you got to win, but you don't really want to screw it up. And he's still got something to work with, even though he's probably not going to win. So I takes, and then so anyway, I'm just gonna really just fly through the rest of this game. And in fact, it's in the PG, it's in the comments, so you can really go through it yourself and analyze it and see how it went down. But I'm just going to really quickly go through it just for the sake of it, all the way to the end until he resigned. And that was it. He resigned at this point. Now, what I want to show you is a very interesting line that was played by even Sokolov versus Jordan Van Foreest in the, I think this Hoogeveen tournament. Now this opening is very similar to some degree, except for he played the normal, he played the same move board I get to get this variation of king ending. But the line I'm talking about he went bishop e2 first, as I told you, is the best alternative in such a position because you really want to have these two squares under attack. So he castles. Now bishop e3, kind of counterintuitive because people typically want to develop a knight first. So what you're trying to do here is stop c5. Now there is some cases where black sacrifices this pawn here for activity with, for example, and eventually he'll end up trading this bishop for this knight, having double pawns here and winning back a pawn. So watch out for that. Maybe they just might end up doing that. But if not, let's go back to the original line. When you go bishop e3, more than likely they're going to go something like e5. And E5, as you remember, we always go D5. So he plays knight A6. Now here's where the real fire begins with this knight. He goes G4. And so remember that this F4 is this F5 square is this principal break in this sort of position with the king's Indian. So now you got these two pieces here, hitting that square. So if he does push that, it's gonna, it's gonna compromise his stuff a little bit as well, just as much as he can get an open line. So he goes C6. Don't worry about E6. You ignore E6. You just go G5. See, now you see the importance of that bishop here, because he can't hop the knight here, and he can't hop the knight here. So he goes to knight E8. You go F4. I mean, yeah, H4. Sorry. Now, and another point of putting that pawn on G4. Now he's still going to push for his principal break, but what you're going to do, you're going to take en passant, open that line up, and you're going to push on with H5. And again, that white bishop hitting H5, saving the day. Queen H5, you're going to take here. In this position, there's a lot of things black can do, but in this case, he ended up taking knight H4. So of course, you're just going to go ahead and do the in-between move. Take G take H7. Now this is a funny move, and this is principled for this variation. That black doesn't care about losing the C3 pawn, the B2 pawn, because of knight takes C3, trade and win a pawn. In this case, your king, after he goes H8, is much better served on F1, because ideally you're going to want to go F1 and G2. This is the safest square for your king in this variation. So if he takes, for example, if he takes, you're not afraid of that. You're just going to say, I don't know, do something like this. He just had to go back over here, and you just continue on with your operations as normal. So let's see here. Go back. Okay, takes. Okay, knight F3. Knight takes C3. Obviously, bishop takes C3. He doesn't even take the pawn because I guess he knows part of this variation. And C takes D5. So now just king F1. Just go ahead and sacrifice another pawn. Like, you just want to get to a situation where you can at least just attack. Because we're going to see this reoccurring theme here of knight hopping, potentially hopping into G6 with checkmate. If he can just get that bishop off of that diagonal. So pawn takes, bishop takes, rook C8. Bishop here trying to deflect the other bishop, because again, if he takes it, knight G6 check, mate, that is. Bishop E4, and now queen G4. And if he takes rook, it'll just be a two-move checkmate, starting with knight G6, then queen H5 checkmate. Bishop check, king G1, rook C8. Bishop F5, bishop takes, queen takes. Obviously, he cannot take the queen because he's threatening. He would still, that reoccurring theme. Bishop here trying to deflect. And now basically he's just going to go in for a sort of a mop-up job. Bishop takes, and really here, queen takes bishop wins the game, for example. Something like this. Queen. I mean, we can all see that this won't take long at all to be over with. This is one sneaky variation I like to play. Now, another way to play this so-called same-ish variation is the way that Ponomariov played Vovk, and this was at the Ukrainian Championship in Keiv, 2011. So let's just go ahead and get to the principal variation here. This is the samest variation where principally you're going to go knight f3 because this really stops a whole lot of that f4 nonsense, f5 nonsense from black. And really black and white can get a much active and attacking position because a lot of times in this opening, black is going to castle king side, white is going to castle queen side. But however white plays it right, he's going to have very good play. So let's just go here on a little bit. I'm not going to try to go too deep into it. But now, and always remember that on move 6, no matter what white plays, black plays, sorry, unless he plays h6, you're always going to go bishop g5. And again, c5, you're going to go d5. And another principal break for, as we see here in this position, is to play for black to play e6. So he can, if you trade, you get some counterplay down to the e file. But however, because you have this triangle of pawns here, that, for example, if black took d5, white can take d5 with the c pawn, and this diagonal of pawns is still intact and protecting the king quite well. So queen d2. Queen a5, rook c1, in preparation of just getting the rook off of that diagonal for that strong bishop on g7. Pawn takes, and as we see, knight d, bd7, knight h3, a6, bishop e2. And now this here's a good move here, because what it does is that it gives white some clearance on the second rank for his queen to protect the a pawn, and in case if he needs. And one other factor that I found out in this position from studying this position and watching a lot of YouTube videos from grandmasters and international masters, when you go knight h3 as white, the best square for that knight is to come back to f2. And again, just keep that idea in mind. All right, so we're moving on with the pawns. And as we can see here, well, he didn't really do the queenside castle in this position, but as we can see, white is really drumming up some attack here. And I'm not going to play through the whole game, but this is just the idea to show you that playing against the king, then in the samest variation, you can get positions like very active positions as white, such as this here. Now, however, playing against the samest variation, there is some very sneaky variations that black can play. And in fact, we're going to check out this game here. Now, I got to show you this whole game, but I'm going to run through it just kind of quick. Just for, again, I'm not going to really try to analyze. I'm just going to just show you the idea here. Garry Kasparov versus Yasser Seirawan in the World Cup in Barcelona in 1989. Yasser Seirawan played this opening and this game quite well. I loved it. This is one of my favorite games now. I'm going to add it to my database of those favorite games that I really like a lot. So again, we start out with this same-ish variation, just a different move order of how it all comes about here. However, with this knight h5, as we'll see, allows black, white is preparing to castle queenside. We see this very disruptive queen h4 check, bishop h2. Bishop f2 is white, bishop f4 threatening, to trade. Because, hey, if he does go, hey, well, trade is, as we all know, in the open, if we can trade queens, black is usually fine, generally speaking. However, he goes back to bishop e3. He does this disruptive queen h4 check again. And this is, I think this, and I'm going to show you another game that's supposed to be considered the Bronstein variation. very, 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 a very interesting way to sacrifice a queen for two minor pieces. G3. What to do? What to do? Knight takes. You'll say, wow, why would he do that? Because his piece is pinned now. However, knight takes f1, queen takes queen, knight takes knight with the threat of knight c2, knight c4. So really, Gary played king e2 here, but what I've found is that this is the best move in this position if you were to play this variation as the white side. I've even played against, set this position and played against a computer, and by and far, everybody plays that I've seen queen f2 seems to be the best move. Seems to be anyway. King and e2. So knight takes c4, and you got two minor pieces and a bishop for the pawn. No, two pawns and two minor pieces. I mean, numerically, that's almost worth a queen. You're about a pawn short. I mean, black is a little disjointed with his pieces. His king is a little bit airy. You got two bishops as black. You got ways you can open up the queen side with pawn breaks. It's actually, I would say, I'm not going to say it's the way to play, but playing this against a human being is really hard to deal with if you're white. And so anyway, I'm just going to quickly go through the game. I'm not going to try to analyze it. But anyway, yes, Seirawan played a fantastic game, I thought, 1989, and this game here resulted in a draw. Now, the last game I want to show you, now this is Vladimir Kramnik is white. This is Garry Kasparov in the Munich Intel Blitz. This is 5 minutes from 1994. Now, Kasparov, now we look at this King's Indian attack here. This is a different way to sacrifice the queen for two pieces. Now, all right, now let's get to the principal setup. Okay, knight hops in. All right, and again, when you're playing this sort of variation, I just want to go back and talk about this here a little bit. When you go on A5, what you're trying to do is just get a secure spot for your knight on C5, and eventually you want to push A4 to clamp down on B3. However, this move here actually entices B3, which is the move you want to happen. This variation doesn't really work, at least in this exact move order, unless this B3 happens. So this kind of entices that. So now knight takes F4, bishop takes queen, knight takes knight, queen E2, knight takes bishop. Now, this is quite interesting here. As we can see that black has gained a pawn and gained two minor pieces for this queen, but very, 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 I guess Kramnik sacrificed his pawn to hope to open this line up, but very, very dangerous position for white. The big thing is that when you got this space here is black and all these pieces, that obviously you don't want to trade pieces, because the more pieces come off the board, the better situation the queen can be in to come out. Because right now the queen is really like has to watch her back in a position like this, so to speak. So anyway, this is a blitz game, however, but still a blitz at this level is pretty good. And again, I'm not really going to try to analyze the game, but I just want to really just give you some ideas on how he won this game, and just talk about only last thing I'm going to just talk about in this game is how white ended up giving the queen back for two pieces, but however how it just, he was already in such a, this is just how much of a bad position he is, because look at this. When he takes that back, I mean, queen G2, knight f4 check. I mean, and resigns, because really the best thing he can do if he goes here, that'll be a checkmate. All right. He goes here, that'll be a checkmate. And if he goes here, let me see, variation. And if he goes here, I mean, this pawn is just going to happen here. And I mean, something, if he goes here, I mean, something like this. I mean, this is a terrible, terrible, I mean, absolutely terrible position for white. But anyway, that is a little, what I want to say, a little just Kickstarter for you to really look into this King's Indian opening, find some new ideas. I can't go into much more detail, but obviously I'm not trying to make too long of a video because I don't have that fan base for people to watch videos very long from me. But if you all want me to really go into some details of the King's Indian from the white and the black side, let me know, because I have a lot of notes written on these openings, and I would love to share them and just kind of show you a few more games that I have that are quite interesting from both sides here. So anyway, thanks a lot for watching. As always, I appreciate all the support I've been getting from viewers and followers and people following the channel. Please follow. If you haven't, give it a thumbs up, please. And, check the description out. There's links in the description that can help me out. And with that said, again, I can only say thanks again. And until next time, you all have a good one.